Right, today's, in my opinion, is all about landfill tax, paid by landfill sites on every tonne of waste they receive. But that cost is then passed on to businesses and local authorities who dump their waste there. Now, of course, it is supposed to encourage more recycling and reuse by making landfills more expensive, and the government will say it's done that. But the tax keeps going up and up. And our guest today, Rico Wojtulewicz, thinks it should be reduced. He's Director of Policy and Market Insight at the National Federation of Builders. Hi, Rico.
Good morning.
If the tax is working by encouraging more reuse and recycling, then what's the issue?
Well, the question is in your question. Is the tax working? Because we've seen many high-profile dumpings and we are seeing costs spiralling, not just to businesses, but to ordinary people, skips, people having to visit their recycling centres and paying £15-20 just to get in and put some waste in. So it's clear that the tax isn't working, because what's happening with those materials, I would argue, if the ambition is a circular economy, which is making sure we reuse and recycle them, well, we're not doing a very good job if we're having to pay more and more and more in order to achieve that. But
surely you're just talking about the fringes who are illegally dumping their waste. Reputable businesses, there's no way they'd be doing that, is there? Or what
absolutely.
Do you know?
No, that's absolutely right. But therein lies the problem. In order to deal with the fringes, we are increasing taxation. What we should be doing is improving enforcement so that anyone that does it is taken to court for that, and also rewarding those companies that are doing the right thing over and over again, instead of saying, well, a minority are failing, so we're going to tax you all in order to deal with the problem.
And rewarding them how? By reducing the tax?
Yeah, by making it fair and proportionate. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, the last government put forward an idea that they would remove what's called the lower rate, which, kind of organic matter like soil and sand and rocks. For housing, we calculated that on some development sites, that would add £50,000 per home if they reduce the cost. Millions of pounds on road upgrades. So who's going to have to pay for all that? Well, it's going to be the consumers and the taxpayers, on materials that we could just reuse, but unfortunately the system doesn't allow us to reuse them properly. And taxation is not going to change that behaviour, because you can't change your behaviour if you're not able to actually do that. You're not able to store things for more than a year. You're not able to use sand on a golf course because you can only use a certain amount every year.
Well, that's all about regulation, isn't it, rather than the landfill tax per se. And we do know the building industry contributes a significant chunk to landfill. Something like 30 to 32% of waste that goes to landfill is building related.
And it's organic. The majority of all is organic waste. The building industry is actually incredible at recycling and reusing the materials that are either potentially polluting or majority is inert. And so you're correct, but they're the ones that can reuse it. But if your only strategy is, well, let's have a system where we tax people into changing their behaviour, but we don't enable behaviour to be changed, then how do you get any sort of reform or any change in the way people operate? And a great example of that is in Germany, they've got more sites to let's call it landfill, but really it's not waste, it's reusable materials, kind of those organic matters. They've got more places to store soil than we have entire landfills in the UK, because they really have an ambition of a circular economy. But just try and get your local authority, let alone the government, to say, yes, we will have a place you can store soil for more than 12 months. It is damn difficult.
Do you know, I love having guests like you on, because you open our eyes to issues that I think most people would just be unaware of, and a lack of soil storage was not on my agenda this morning. But thank you so much for that, Rico. And it's got a good discussion going.